Welcome to Immature Designer. In this video, we will be talking about what is gulf of execution and gulf of evaluation. So these are two very important things that a designer or a UX designer or a UI designer should understand, should capture while designing. So what are these two things? Basically, these are very important principles for better user experience and to able to reduce the gap between these two gulfs of execution and evaluation is what is the goal of the designer. So starting with gulf of execution. What is gulf of execution? So gulf of execution is understanding the process of user actions in the design. So understanding user actions, will the user be able to understand how to accomplish a task by just seeing your design? In fact, so for example, just by seeing your website screen, will the user be able to understand where is the menu for option for signing in or option of checkout or whatever different multiple options? Will the user be able to identify that? So certain things are user goals and users actions towards the goal, and then does some action towards the goal, and before doing that he has to first be able to understand that yes, this is how my action will be executed. So for example, a navigation menu in a website. So where is the navigation menu of a website? So the design should be, this one is an easy example. So design should be made in such a way that the user should be able to navigate through the menus of the website, should able to know that which option will be under which particular menu. So things like that. So users' action towards the goal is guided by users' understanding of where that particular thing would be to achieve the goal, right? In terms of an element of your design. What is the importance? The importance is streamlining users' interactions efficiently. So the more you are able to reduce the gap between gulf of execution and evaluation, the more you reduce the gap, the more efficient the interactions of the user would be. And the next thing is the challenge. So of course, it cannot be very easy to reduce the gap. There are various challenges, and the most important challenge is, what was the user's expectation? You know that you have made a product and you are allowing user to do certain things, but when the user is coming to a website, is he understanding that how to reach his goal, and is he able to accomplish whatever his expectations from the website or product was? Is he able to get it? So is he able to do what he expected? So these are certain challenges, because you are not always able to identify the expectations of the user, because it's about millions of users coming in and with millions of expectations. Of course there will be a lot of people who would be having same goal, because that's what your product is providing. But then it's also important that you at least have an exhaustive list of all those expectations that a user can have, and the more you know it, the more you would design for it, and the more the user will be able to achieve his goal. Coming to gulf of evaluation. So gulf of evaluation is basically after doing a particular task. So now the user knows he is able to navigate through the menu. After doing a particular task, is he able to understand that he did it, he has done it? How to make the user know and understand that he has done what he intended to do? So first thing is going to do something, the next thing is after doing something. The smaller the gap between knowing, doing and getting the result, the smaller the gap, the easier and better the user experience is. So gulf of evaluation is understanding the process of assessing users' action by its definition would be gap between intention and outcome. So intending to do something and the outcome, and so how you know that you have achieved it. So for first example is feedback on completed tasks. So once you have completed task or did something wrong, whatever, a feedback in certain way would help the user to know that they have done it. User satisfaction surveys also, after completing some tasks you can send surveys and understand that was the user able to do what he wanted to achieve from the particular thing. So you can have a survey and understand. So as we saw in Gulf of Execution, that it's a challenge to understand the expectation of a user. So by the surveys you can actually at least try to understand the expectations. And real-time performance metrics is also a good thing, that you are showing the user real-time performance metrics or real-time progresses and everything, and also track in your backend. So user gets his feedback, you get your feedback, and try to work it out. So this is basically all about Gulf of Execution and Gulf of Evaluation. These two are also things that are mentioned in this famous book of The Design of Everyday Things, which is written by Don Norman, and it's a really good book for designers to go through. And at least if you're not a good if you're not a book reader, at least you can try to get its summary and important points and at least know what's there in the book. Other thing is that to reduce the gap between these two gulfs, there are certain things that you can do. Firstly is visibility. If the user has visibility to things, he's able to see how to do it, because of course if you know that there's a rule of there's a rule that user, while doing something, while going through your website or anything else, there are only certain amount of things that you want your user to keep in their head, and not always load them with a lot of information and reduce their cognitive load. So for that you place things on the screen, so that at once user is either keeping 2 things in his head, or 2 plus 2 to minus 2, that is 0 to 4 things in his head. But it's a good for them to keep only 2-3 things and not more than that. So otherwise place everything on the screen, so that the user is able to not increase their cognitive load, and able to do things, and things are visible on the screen, so they are able to recall and do it fastly. Feedback is of course mentioned. Consistency is of course very important. Even throughout the presentation you must have saw that the presentation looks consistent. That's why you are able to connect things. Discoverability, so the user things should be discoverable by the user, and non-destructive operation should be there. So that means that users should not fear before doing something. Either you just like pushing things into recycle bin and not just permanently deleting it, or asking twice before a person is trying to delete something permanently. Twice is too much, at least just once with a red button, so that they know that this is not something which they can undo. So non-destructive operations, if you are handling that properly, that reduces their the Gulf of Execution very much, because they know how to do it, they're not feared to do it, so they do it fast, quick and correctly. And also they're getting feedback, consistency, discoverability, visibility. These are certain things that you should keep in mind while you are designing your product. So that's all for today. I hope this helped, and this is a very important criteria you can use to understand your product, design your product. Thank you.